So we are going to start with Stephanie. Steph, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've got up to within the Vets Now organization.
So I graduated from the University of Edinburgh in 2013 and stuck around Edinburgh for a couple of years. So I worked at the PDSA in Edinburgh initially as a volunteer vet, and then went into general practice, kind of just private practice for a year. And then did the cutting edge program in 2015. So had sort of 2 years general practice. Initially was based in the Liverpool clinic and became the principal vet of the Liverpool clinic after about a year of being there. Since then, I've worked in several clinics and Vets Now. So I've worked in Bournemouth, I've worked in Farnham, and most latterly, I am now the district vet of District 1, which is all of Scotland and the northeast of England. So I am no longer clinical, so I'm in a management position, so oversee the kind of operational and clinical aspect of the clinics, and have been doing that job for the past 2 years. So in the meantime, I managed to get my ECC certificate, but yeah, have been with Vets Now for just over 8 years, like 8 years and 1 week, I think.
Brilliant, brilliant. And we'll come back to that journey in a little while. So Steffi, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, okay. So I graduated also from Edinburgh University in 2016. And then I went back home to Trinidad where I grew up for about 2 years, and then decided I wanted to come back to the UK. So I was looking at sort of how I can manage to work with a child, because I had a baby at that point. So I came across the Vets Now Cutting Edge program, and that's sort of how I came back to the UK. I got a visa through Vets Now to join the Cutting Edge program. And then, yeah, that was in 2019. So I've been sort of with Vets Now since then. I took about 9 months off where I went to do days for a bit, and then I came crawling back to Vets Now because I missed it so much. But yeah, I started working in Canterbury, and then about a year in, I moved over to become the principal vet at Sutton Clinic, and that is where I am currently again. And I'm sort of still doing my certificate in ECC. So that's.
And you're a principal vet at the Sutton branch, which means you run the branch.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, cool. So we got district vet with Steph and Steffi, the principal vet. And if I screw that up during the course of the conversation, I'm really sorry. Right. So, Steph, we're here tonight to talk about the Cutting Edge program. And we've got lots of really great questions, which we'll come to at the end. So, but start by telling us, what is Vets Now Cutting Edge program?
So, here's my spiel. So Cutting Edge is, I guess, specifically targeted for sort of more recent or younger graduates, or potentially people that don't feel experienced in ECC and just need a little bit kind of additional support and extra training. So Cutting Edge is a 10-week ECC specific sort of training course. It's a residential course where you will be based at our support office in Dunfermline. You will get specific training by our specialists in ECC, surgery, medicine, all to kind of gear you up and get you ready to be an ECC vet in one of our out of hours clinics. You also get the opportunity to go away on a sort of cadaver surgery weekend, and this is kind of one of the parts of the Cutting Edge program that everybody absolutely loves. So you get to go down, it's normally in Sheffield, to do a weekend of ECC specific surgery, so your GDVs, splenectomies, your end-to-ends, all of the things that I guess put the fear of, scare everybody about going into kind of sole charge ECC work. And then once you've finished the course, there's no exam, there's no kind of pass fail. You are placed in a clinic kind of your choice. So that will obviously have been selected for you at the interview process. So yeah, you'll be put into a clinic of your choice at the end, fully fledged, fully trained up in a really nice supportive environment.
So I take a couple of things away from that. It's a full-time job from day one, but with a 10-week induction period, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. So you're paid from day one, and your accommodation and everything is provided. So you will be based primarily in Dunfermline at our support office. You will also get an opportunity to go and do some specific mentor shifts in your clinic, and quite often you will do some shifts in another clinic, just so that you get a bit of a broad overview of kind of how the clinics work, similarities, differences between clinics, and you also get to go and meet your team, meet your principal vet, your principal nurse, before you're then kind of out there full time.
And it's something like 300 hours worth of continuing education, isn't it?
Yeah. So you can put that down as CPD on your record.
That'll sort you out for a bit. Now, So first question, Steffi, just to wrap up on this section, is this course appropriate for a relatively new graduate, maybe with 6 months to a year's experience?
Absolutely, yeah. That's sort of what it targets. So you need to have some kind of experience in day practice and feel sort of confident in first opinion before you start the course, the cutting edge.
Okay, brilliant. Now, sticking with you, Steffi, then, tell us a little bit about your journey through the ECC, because you just said I came crawling back to ECC because I didn't like the days. So tell us a little bit about your journey through the program and how you find it.
Okay, so when I started the cutting edge, I guess I didn't really know 100% what to expect. It sort of exceeded my expectations. I loved it a lot more than I thought that I would have. And I think a lot of that had to do with the support system that you make when you're on the program itself. So during those 10 weeks, you make very close friends with the other vets who are on the program, and you kind of support each other through all of your next steps in ECC and within Vets Now. So yeah, after the cutting edge program, we all went off to our clinics. I was at Canterbury, and I was there for about 9 months. And then I didn't really have a full-time PV at the time. So I realized that I was kind of doing a lot of the principal vet work anyway. And then a position came up in Sutton. So I applied for that sort of principal vet position, which sort of, you're working in the clinic, but you have that management role, which means that you're involved with interviews and staffing requirements and, filling gaps and making sure that everyone's happy and sort of running the day-to-day clinic. So I started doing that early 2020, and then COVID happened. And then I got a bit exhausted from doing the nights. COVID was really difficult. It was really busy. And yeah, I took a little break. And then I just very quickly realized that it just was not. That was why I remembered why I left. So yeah, I called Vets Now and I was like, possible for me to please come back and do these nights again.
With open arms, they welcome you back.
Yeah. So it was great. I'm back with, the old team, and it's great. Yeah. So that's kind of.
One of the things that stands out for me, because I do some coaching work with the Vets Now cutting edge cohorts, is that there's a legendary WhatsApp group that forms for every cohort, isn't there? Tell us a little bit about how that works.
Literally last night I was on the group, because I had a bird in and I hadn't seen a bird in such a long time. So basically what happens is, obviously on your course, you form really strong bonds with people, and you create this WhatsApp group, as is encouraged by the cutting edge organizers. I guess they know how important it is. And so obviously we are all up. There's about 12 of us in the group. So, somebody is going to be up at the same time as you on that shift. So there's always somebody to ask or to call or to video or to, just to get some help from. And it goes always, everybody's in the group. We still talk in the group after almost 5 years, all the time. So yeah, I think that's kind of gotten me and a lot of us through a lot of nights, is that we have that support system with close friends that we've made, who we feel comfortable asking questions to, no matter what the question is, no matter how long you've been doing it for, you don't know everything. And so it's important to feel comfortable and have those people to speak to.
Yeah. So Steph, tell us a little bit about the day in the life of, and the shift patterns and things. Because one of the questions we had, is it sole charge? Are there multiple vets on a night? What's the team like on the night? So when you're actually in the clinic, having learned all those skills and starting to flex those skills, what's a day in the life of, or rather a night in the life of a vet's now cutting edger in practice?
So with regards to kind of whether or not you're sole charge or whether or not you're kind of with another vet, that's really clinic dependent. So obviously when you go through the recruitment process, you'll, I guess, be asked whether or not you want to be in a really busy clinic or in a clinic where you can take your time and, really work things up, and, the pace is slightly different. So whether or not you're in a very busy clinic or in a slightly quieter clinic will depend on whether or not you maybe have another vet for the first 6 hours, and then are sole charge kind of after midnight. But most shifts you would be sole charge. Weekends, again, clinic dependent. You might have another vet on a Saturday or a Sunday, but I guess the expectation would be that when you finish the cutting edge program, you will be fully equipped and have the tools and the support network there to cope sole charge. You will have a fully qualified registered veterinary nurse on with you, so all of our clinics will have a vet nurse, either one or two. And there will be varying levels of support staff, again, just based on caseload. So you might have a receptionist, an ACA, either one or two of them.
And one of the questions was about the pattern. So on a kind of average rolling shift, how many hours are you working in a week?
So full-time hours is 40 hours a week, and our shift lengths, our night shifts vary between sort of 13.5 to 15-hour shifts. So obviously if you're working a 40-hour week and you're in a 15-hour clinic, that would be kind of about 3 shifts a week. So we work 1 and 2 weekends. So that would be normally a mixture of days and night shifts, and then a fair share of weeknights. Again, your pattern is going to be clinic dependent, but you would never work more than sort of 2 or 3 night shifts in a row, because the patterns need to be sustainable. We've got a huge focus on work-life balance as well. So the benefit of working nights is that slightly longer shifts, so that you get your hours kind of done and dusted, and then you normally get a decent break and a period of time off where your time's your own.
And so Steffi, coming to you then. So when people think about emergency critical care work, you think about weird shift, weird hours, and the effect on your circadian rhythms, how you live like that. And actually, one of the things I know that they do on the cutting edge course is they help you with how you cope with that and how you deal with that. Tell us the non-clinical bit of the cutting edge course.
Yeah, so so they are there to give you a lot of advice and guidance, because it is a massive lifestyle change that I think we all underestimate. It's because it is quite a big difference. But some tips that they give us are things that you wouldn't really think about. So wear shades on your drive home so that the sun is not, because it makes you more tired, and it you have to try and pretend it's nighttime at this point. So things like that, type of foods that you need to eat, when to drink coffee. You don't want to be drinking coffee during your shift necessarily, or too late on in your shift, else you won't be able to sleep once you get home. Eat foods that are potentially, sort of healthy, obviously, but high in like tryptophan and things, so that they make you feel good as well. Be careful with, snacking too much, because obviously, at 4 o'clock in the morning, you can be, when you're really busy, you just want to grab a chocolate. And, it's okay if you do on the occasion, but you just need to, monitor yourself and regulate your eating habits and regulate your sleeping pattern. And even though you're living in a kind of opposite world from everyone else, make sure that you have something that is sort of structured. So some kind of structure to your day. So like I come home and I have the same meal for breakfast in the morning, and you have a bath for X amount of time, and then you wind down, and then you go in your bed with your mask on. Like, so they do really give you good advice and guidance, things that you just wouldn't have thought about, on your own.
It's quite interesting actually, because we talked about the Advantage program about 3 weeks ago with Sophie and Anita, and that's for experienced vets who want a refresher in ECC. So it's a shorter period followed then by a full-time job. She was talking about being a natural night owl, and actually she gets more free time because her awake period tends to be more night orientated anyway. Do you find there are natural ECC types that get into the rhythm quicker and better?
Absolutely. There are some people that I've met who come, they start working nights, and within a couple of weeks, they already know that they can't physically do it. They're just not able to do, they're just not naturally night owls. So I think a lot of us who end up in ECC just tend to be those people who prefer to stay up or are more productive at night. And then, obviously you have the whole day off, and then you have multiple days off, which means that you can actually get things done. I don't really know how people get things done when they work every day. It's confusing. But yeah, so I think it also has to work for your family. I have a young child. So when I was working days, I was never seeing him. He was in before school club, after school club every day. And it just makes life a bit more chaotic than when you have that time to spend with your family in the day.
Just a very different way of thinking about it, isn't it? Away from the 9 to 5. We've got a question from the audience, actually. Steph, if I can, the Cutting Edge program, is it in a specific location? You mentioned accommodation will be provided. Can you expand a bit on that? So talk a bit maybe about Dunfermline and how that works.
Yeah, so our head office or support office is a purpose-built building in Dunfermline. So it's just outside of Edinburgh in an area called Fife. So most of the training will be there, and you will be put, normally it's sort of lodges, sometimes it's kind of like a big shared house. But accommodation will be provided, and it will be based there. There are some online components. So, for example, when you go and you do your in-clinic or your mentor block, you may have some lectures which might be delivered on Zoom or some kind of online platform. But all the kind of in-person teaching will be in that one location.
And then it's in blocks with the mentor weeks in the middle where you actually go out to your prospective clinic. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So you are assigned one or several mentors who would be experienced ECC clinicians from your base clinic or from whatever other clinic you're going to be doing shifts in, or it could be a very experienced veterinary nurse, because we've got, a huge array of experienced veterinary nurses that work for Vets Now, and their experience and skill level cannot be underestimated. So often we will assign a nurse mentor as well for some of your shifts, and they will coach you through different procedures and different things that you might not have done before, and they will give you real-time feedback and also fill in a feedback form, and that will be delivered by the people running the Cutting Edge program, so that you can get some positive and also some constructive feedback about potentially areas that you could improve.
And then Steffi, there's a reunion after about 6 months as well. Is that right?
Yes. Yep, there's a reunion in person.
And so that's, I do some coaching on that part, and If you know Scotland, you might have heard of Tony Macaroni's, where you fill yourself up with pizza and so it's a bit of a social as well. But that speaks to what happens once you finish that 10-week induction. So talk us through getting into your clinic for the first time and then leading up to that first year within the business.
So I guess once you go out into your respective locations, you realize that you actually are on your own, which is what you've been preparing for 10 weeks. But yeah, so you're kind of on your own, but then you join this team, and Vets now, I don't know how, but they tend to have very supportive staff. So I was the only vet in my clinic when I started, and my nurses sort of guided me through life as an ECC vet. And after that, we kept sort of discussing in our WhatsApp group, because we were all quite new to the job. So we kept discussing how to manage this case, how to do this, supported each other all the way through. And we sort of counted down until our reunion. So we had our reunion in Scotland. So we all flew out there, and we got to see the cutting edge team as well, which was amazing because they're the ones who taught us everything. Tony Macaroni. And then my group is a very close one. So we sort of continue to have our reunions on our own, which has been really good. I mean, we see each other relatively often anyway, but we try to all get together every year at least.
Brilliant. And in terms of then this as a career step, Steph, how, Edges become the boss was the kind of pun on the Interview the Boss title that we had initially. So how does Cutting Edge set people up within the organization? Because I understand that there's a disproportionately high number of cutting edges in the management team now.
Yeah, I believe that is correct. I guess for me, from my own personal experience, I think doing Cutting Edge, it really made me feel part of something. It really made me feel part of a community. You're spending 10 weeks at our head office. You're meeting all of the people that kind of make the cogs turn. You're part of a group of a whole cohort of new vets coming into something. So you start off feeling that sense of community, and that carries on kind of through the clinic. And I think for me, I got the opportunity to progress, and I got the opportunity to progress into a sort of a management position. And I felt I wanted to kind of give back. I wanted to contribute to what I felt when I first started within the business.
Brilliant. And one of the other things to talk about is that, Steffi, you're a UK grad from Edinburgh, but you're actually from Trinidad in the first place. There's quite a high proportion of international vets on the Cutting Edge program as well, isn't it? And so how does that occur? What are people doing? How are they getting their visas? How does that work?
So in the past sort of few years, it's become sort of more popular for corporates to support international vets and help them get visas. Vets Now has been, they've supported me more than anybody else could have. It's been amazing. Basically, what happens is that you can do an interview online, which means that you don't have to physically be in the UK to apply for the Cutting Edge program, which makes it very convenient. And obviously, financially, I wouldn't have been able to do it if I had to physically be here. So that was a huge help for me personally. So once you do the interview and you get offered the position, they sort of assist you in the next steps, the next stages. There's certain people that they direct you to within Vets Now who advise you and help you through the visa process. And so that's basically how international the vets are starting to come across here to work for Vets Now and other companies as well. But the support that they offered me was I mean, it was incredible. I remember at Christmas Eve, I still hadn't had my visa and I was freaking out that I wasn't going to be here on time. I didn't know what to do. I was afraid to call my district vet because I didn't want to disturb him. And he was just so nice. He called me on Christmas Eve. He was like, oh, don't worry, we have this, that. And so I just felt at ease from the start. And so yeah, it's a huge help.
So if you're MRCVS eligible or an MRCVS already, then that visa support could open a whole bunch of ECC doors for you with Vets Now.
Absolutely, yeah. And also start, practicing in a different country. The medicine is very different. There's different drugs, it's very different. So the cutting edge program teaches you how to be a vet, an ECC vet in the UK as well, which is.
And, if you did come across, I understand the tie-in for the program is 2 years. Is that right, Steph?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct.
So you come across for 2 years, learn all those skills, and then export yourself back home if you wanted to, and take all that home. Is that right?
No, I don't think we.
Don't think that's the goal.
No, I think
I'll get told off by the team for saying that, but no, it's really fascinating. Steph, I want to come back to you, but just to say to everybody, we've been nattering for nearly half an hour now. So if you do have any questions, drop them into the chat box if you're with us in the Zoom room. If you're watching on Facebook, come join us in the Zoom room. I've pinned the link to the Zoom room in the comments, and please drop into the chat and I'll pick them up. What do you think sets Vets Now apart as an employer, Steph? Things like culture, how mistakes are handled, those kind of things. But in the general sense, what sets them apart?
Oh, you picked me on the spot here, Adrian. I think you've really hit the nail on the head there with the sort of the culture piece. We have such a huge focus on our people. We've done a lot of work recently about kind of health and well-being. So with our benefits package, we've really kind of incorporated a lot of employee support, a lot of well-being assistance. The veterinary sector at the moment, it's no secret that it's not an easy place to work. It's difficult to navigate at the moment, and I think there's a huge support network within Vets Now, and I think for me that it really helps for you to feel supported by your employer. Particularly from a health and well-being point of view. Obviously, we do have a really competitive benefits package, but there are parts of that package that I think are very, very unique from that point of view.
So now you've opened the door to that. Let's talk about the package and the remuneration for a second. So Steph, this was your job, wasn't it?
Yep, this was my job.
Tell us, what's the package look like?
So benefits package or salary?
Let's start with the salary and then work through the benefits. Give people an idea of what it's about. So,
as you said, Adrian, for the 10 weeks, it is basically a 10-week training and induction program, and that is fully paid. So, the salary for that part is obviously 40,000 pro rata, and then your salary coming in as a cutting edger would be anything up to 64,000, depending on the clinic and depending on the location. Benefits wise, we have a very generous CPD package. We have private healthcare. We've got access to employee assist programs. We also have access to the Peppy app, which is brand new. And again, that focus on well-being has come in. We've got 7 weeks of annual leave. What am I missing? Birthday paid leave. Steffi, what have I missed?
Parental leave,
sick pay. Again, some of those are based on length of service, so they will differ depending on the length of time that you've worked for the company.
Volunteer days. We have 2 volunteer days now per year, which I think that's quite new. I don't remember it being there 4 years ago.
Yeah. So what's a volunteer day all about, Steffi?
So you can choose anywhere to volunteer and you get paid for it. So it's basically like 28 hours of paid volunteering per year. But it just allows you to sort of step away from work and you know, do something a bit different, see the world from a different perspective, and actually get paid for doing it. So it's a nice, I find it's a really nice touch. I've not seen that offered anywhere else.
Great. And so the final question is, we're recruiting for, is it cohort 29 for Cutting Edge for the autumn? Unbelievably. What are the start dates for it? Do we have those? Because off the top of my head, it was August.
It's August.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you go, we'll put the job advert into the links in a moment, and you go check it out on vsgd.co, and you will see the start date, and it's more precise. I've forgotten it off the top of my head and didn't even write it down, which is more for me. So look, we're bumping up against the time for the live chat. We had, if you've got any more questions, drop them into the box. We have one more which is ready to go. So what would be the difference between the Cutting Edge program and applying for the internship program at Vets Now?
I'm going to do my best to answer this one. So Cutting Edge is based out of our out of hours clinics. So obviously within Vets Now, we have 60 out of hours clinics, and we have our 2 specialist hospitals. So we've got Vets Now Glasgow and we have Vets Now Manchester. So our internships, we've got rotating internships and ECC specific internships. They are based out of our specialist hospitals, and they're sort of like the classic internships where you get sort of diplomat training and rounds, and you kind of rotate round the different specialties, whereas Cutting Edge is really training you for being an out of hours emergency clinician in one of our out of hours clinics. So that's the surface level difference.
So, and that's quite significant, isn't it, in terms of what you're doing as a training program to ECC level, and then on to residency, one would assume, after the internship.
Yeah, I guess it potentially opens you up to then taking that next step onto residency if that's the path that you, I guess, are wanting to take. Okay,
so I think we're coming to a close. Steffi, I'm going to leave the final question with you. So this is your Dragon's Den moment. You've got like the 1 or 2 minute pitch. So if you were going to pitch me, come and join the Cutting Edge program at Vets Now, because
it's the best thing I've ever done. It's the best career move you'll ever make. I don't know Dragon's Den.
I love the fact you delivered that. You know, it's so authentic and genuine. It's just like, it's the best thing I've ever done, guys. I don't think we need, I think that's a really nice place to kind of wrap it up. So guys, I just want to say a massive thank you for your time. When this is clipped and you can see it in the watch backs, you'll have the job advert underneath it. You'll have the company profile. And we've done several of these chats now with Vets Now people. So there's 3 or 4 to look at on the company profile for different bits of the business and doing different jobs as well. So what we're going to do now is just wave bye-bye to everybody in Facebook land. So goodbye to everybody in Facebook. If you want to join us, the link is there for a few moments longer. And we're going to say goodbye to everybody on the recording. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.